Hello, everyone, and welcome into the Grip Locked preview for the Krokhol Open. It's an exciting week here at Foundation.
Turns out we still do preview shows.
We do. Look, guys, I got to run you through a few things. Discmania Challenge, travel situation. We got lit. We didn't record one.
We were sleeping in an airport.
European events we haven't done all season. This is the first European event because this is we could have done PCS, but this is the one where like the full field is over because now we're going full major or full event, major. And then we'll see the field for the post-major European Open. But it's an exciting week at Foundation because we got a bunch of awesome people in town filming the Imposter reality series that you will be watching in November. Mr. Fan Vote, Gary, is here with us. So we invited him to be a part of the show. Obviously, he's rocking his Tour Life merch. We allow it. It's fine. It is what it is.
I don't know. I haven't decided.
We're bringing him in. Now I got two stat guys with me. Gary and the Pro Tour claimed stat guy with the fun line, Trev.
Guy.
So we're going to walk through a little bit of last year's Krokhol Open. There's some surprising finishes, more so how far out of the lead certain players were. And we'll talk through a little bit of storylines this year, what you can expect out there, and then get into our picks. We're going to do our pick 'em actually for you guys live last night on Tour Life. For us, the next thing we film. Welcome to the Marvel Universe where all the timelines are interwebbed. Because
this is this is our multiverse day.
Yeah, this is a tough one because we can't say our pick 'em picks because we're about to make them. But for y'all, we already made them last night. So if you're interested in checking that out, you can do that last night. But what I'm actually going to let you do, what I'm actually going to do here is I'm going to throw it to Gary to give us a little course change update for Krokhol. What a lot of people call the best course in the world. I forgot to wear my Krokhol merch, but the designer brought me one. So I'm bought in.
Did we double check that? Is it still number one?
Is it still number one? I believe it is.
I believe it's still number one in the world.
Okay.
But you can go ahead and give us a little update on what's changed.
Yeah, so when it comes to the actual course itself, they really haven't changed much of anything with the distance, the tees, the pin locations. There may have been some slight adjustments. One of the things that we've seen the Pro Tour doing all year this year is adjusting kind of where the OB lines are at this year. So tightening them up around the green, around the fairway, trying to eliminate the errant shots that go off to the right or the left. And we see that a little bit here, but for the most part, the course remains untampered with, which I think is really great considering it is the number one course in the world for a reason, and they kind of left it be the number one course in the world as it was last year. Well,
it's funny you say that because in my mind I was thinking, well, yeah, when you're the number one course, why would you make too many changes? But you think about Maple Hill as another top course in the world, top 5. They make changes all the time. They're constantly looking to experiment. So it is interesting to see like when you are kind of at the height of that, like do you mess with things much? I know Krokhol is one that I wouldn't touch.
I think a lot of that comes with time because when you have a course like Maple Hill and you're someone like Steve Dodge who's sitting on that property, I almost feel like you get antsy after so long where you have to make changes.
Like, let's build a giant barn on hole one.
We'll see as long as this course is around, will they start to make adjustments to it? And
I think the other part that's tough when you're in the position Krokhol's in the position Maple Hill's been before, you're kind of the forefront of the sport. You are the number one course in the world. So it's kind of like you've set the standard, and it's your standard to raise if you choose to do so. So it's almost like there's a semi-outside pressure to make some changes, to push some things forward. I also do like the continued trend of the Pro Tour being like, hey, we're coming to town. Let's tighten some things up. Let's make this maybe a little less scoreable. It'll be interesting to see how much it actually relates to here since they're not making any drastic changes. But sometimes it is enough of you move some OB lines here and there, you tighten some landing zones, and it is enough to adjust by a stroke or two. So let's actually take a look back to last year. So last year we had Ricky Wysocki taking this down at 33 under par.
Scorched it.
Then we had Jakub Simmerod in second at 28 under and Vino Makala in third at 23 under.
Yeah.
In the field, though, was still some top American talent. This was Paul Macbeth, I believe, fresh off of PCS. No, last year he did not win. That was 2 years ago. Paul Macbeth was in the field. He came in 6th, 20 under. Paul Ulibarri was in the field. He came in 7th, tied with Anthony Barella and Gannon Burr, which I think that's kind of the more shocking because Gannon Burr, AB, they were in their dominant era last year, still are to a great extent, but they ended up losing by, yes, they were in 7th place, 14 strokes out of the lead, though. So very drastic difference from that first down to that seventh. You still had other great players in the field. Ian McMahon was over there, Aaron Gossage, Sullivan Tipton, who's emerged more this year, but he was also out there last year. So I think that is a point to look at as, Ezra Aderhold. I actually hadn't scrolled down far enough before to see he was there in 47th. But it is important to look at players who are hot this year, such as Ezra, such as Sully, that maybe though they didn't play it well last year, they're on a hot streak now and have seen this course before in a tournament-type setting. That does give them a little bit of an advantage. But where I want to focus right now is more towards the top of the leaderboard. We're going to start off with Ricky Wysocki. A lot of players love this course. Ricky's one of them. Won out here last year. The same story we went through over and over on the previous show. Like, is it time for the first win, or is the first win of Ricky's season not coming this year? The guy is crazy high in the Pro Tour standings without a win so far, so it feels inevitable, but is it actually inevitable? Trevor, what are your thoughts?
He's due for sure, but I mean, he dominated the course last year. You look at the leaderboard, you have him and Yakub, who was playing from the rear after a slower first round, but he never made it a competition, really. I mean, Ricky ran away with that tournament. The rest of the leaderboard was much further behind. I don't know. I don't really think we've seen that out of him. I think that there were like players like Gannon. There was just not a lot of familiarity being over in Europe playing that course. A lot of people, weren't familiar with it. I think there's a stronger field this year. It's certainly not something where I'm going to crown Ricky. Like I said, I've kind of continuously said that he really has to prove it, and I've yet to see it.
Yeah, this stretch last year for Ricky, Krokhol was Ricky's second win of the year, and it started a very strong European stretch where he went first at Krokhol, second at the European Open, first at the European Disc Golf Festival, which that's the stretch we're in right now. European Open, European Disc Golf Festival are going to flip, being the majors. So it'll be Krokhol, European Disc Golf Festival, Worlds will be kind of what he's heading into right now. So, yeah. Gary, do you think that we're going to see a similar repeating success of what we saw last year, or is this season just a whole different story?
The tough thing for me is Ricky doesn't feel like the same Ricky that we've seen in the past. I mean, when you look at the stats that he had for this event last year, he had no bogeys at all for the entire event, and he dominated in C1 and C2 in regulation. He always put himself in the position to be successful, and this year, we haven't seen that same level of consistency from him where it feels like we're getting 3 consistent rounds or 4 consistent rounds of that elite level play. Is he capable of it? For sure he is. But we just have not seen him do that yet. I thought we were going to see it for the first time at Ale when he was absolutely tearing up the course, but he had an almost catastrophic finishing round there. Yeah. But, I mean, I think he's capable of doing it, but I don't know that we're going to see the same stretch out of Ricky.
Yeah, it's just been a weird season for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta agree. Look, I'm picking Ricky every week for the whole season.
If you're gonna switch up, I'd like to change my answer. Yeah. Rick is going to win.
I'm not taking Rick this week. I do have him in my top 3 because I do think he's gonna get in contention. But I actually am basing a lot of this on a conversation I was having with Sir Robbie Crawford, where he was telling me about in the bag where Ricky was showing off another new proto disc with Discraft, and he's basically making another. From what it sounds like, he's making a pig, but he's making another approach disc of some type. And what I think that all of this is signaling to me is he's not comfortable yet still.
Yeah.
He's still working on the putter. He can't even putt with his proto putter yet. That's still kind of going on. He's putting with focuses right now. He's having to go and develop. Could it just be he wants more money because he wants his name on more plastic? Absolutely. But could it also be he's still figuring things out, he's still getting comfortable? Also, yes, and I think that if you look at it, he's been very consistent, he's been very good. He hasn't been able to have that winning gene this year, which Ricky has had on pretty much every stage but majors for the last decade. So that seems weird to me, and I can't help but feel like they might be correlated. So
him and Calvin are buddy-buddy in that sense.
I think he's going to have a good weekend out here. I just don't think it's quite going to be the win weekend.
He's certainly not the hot hand, but he's been the lukewarm hand all season.
Yep.
So it's not like he has to do something crazy. He just has to be that much better to actually get a win.
So I guess let's go to one of the 2 hot hands that I'll talk about. First, we'll go to the one that finished farther down the leaderboard last year, being Ezra Aderhold. Pretty hot hand right now, coming off the win at Discmania Challenge. Last year, the 47th place, again, how much do we give weight into that? I don't know, but how much weight do you give to a 42nd finish at PCS last weekend? Is that just, he finished this Mania Challenge, he traveled straight to PCS, sleep deprived, who knows? So was the rest of the field. Didn't seem to bother them that much. How much is that playing into it? How much are you weighing last year? What are you expecting from Ezra this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, I think I expect pretty good things. I do think slipping to 42nd at that, at PCS with not the strongest field necessarily, it's not quite as easy to do, but it's still in the MPO division these days. It's a couple like slightly off rounds and you will plummet down a leaderboard and you can rise back up it the same way. So I don't think it's a huge red flag. I think there's kind of that. There's a huge hangover that can come with getting that win, especially one that you've been building up to for a while now. And it's probably, when you've been chasing that for so long and you finally get it, it is kind of tough to rally the troops and go back right away and get back in that mindset of that desperation. He's going to have to find that drive again. And I'm sure it won't be long before he feels that hunger to get back in the winner's circle and experience that again. But I'd maybe expect more of a humble stretch in Europe for him.
Yeah, I think if you look back at this season, one thing that we've known about Ezra is he has been one of the Ironmen traveling back and forth repeatedly. Yeah. And if you look at his finishes, he finished 34th at Konopiste, and then the next European event, 29th, and then 42nd at PCS. Every time he goes back to the United States, he's finished top 10.
Yeah.
So this is the first time we're going to see him stay in the same location on this back and forth tour. So I expect to see a decent performance out of him. But given how the European events have gone so far, I would say a top 20 finish or a top 15 finish would be definitely expected. To say he's going to finish in the top 5, probably not. Probably needs another week to get himself together. But I would say the next European event, that's when you should look out for Ezra the most.
Well, yeah, and obviously running into the 2 majors at the end of this stretch, or somewhat in the middle of it, it's a whole other storyline where it's okay, he's one of the players now that he's gotten that normal win on tour. Mm-hmm. Maybe he's next up to put his name in the hat and compete for a major, but he'll have his hands full.
I do think one thing to add to, the maybe brush off PCS, because I'm a big look at last year and see how it plays out, and it has screwed me a lot this season. It's also saved me once or twice. So 50-50 up in the air if we look at last year. But if we look at the last event, PCS, I think one thing to look at is, yes, the time difference, but also in his interview after he won in Des Moines, he said, this is the most emotion I've ever felt in my life.
Yeah.
Emotional battery is a real thing.
Oh, yeah.
So if you
it's
get
a huge emotion dump
absolutely
when you get
drained after that, because there's been moments where I've had an emotional high, something's gone phenomenal in my life, I've completed something I was working really hard towards, whatever, and I just feel like crap the next day. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it is that emotional swing back and forth. So you add into that the time change. I'm not going to say that is the total excuse for the PCS performance out of Ezra, but that's why I'm not going to give it much weight in my head. Mm-hmm. But I think I'm on the same page of Gary. Of top 20, top 15 is kind of where I'm expecting. Top 5 wouldn't be shocking, but I'm not really fully expecting it, because I think that what the modern European field does do is where it's not necessarily as deep as a full U.S. field, but as the field does get fuller, the top European talent is going to get in the mix, mm-hmm. which is just going to keep bumping you down. I mean, we saw it with, what was his name? Heinonen or Hamalainen.
There it is.
I believe it was Hamalainen who got up into where if James would have bogeyed, he could have won the event as a kid. Basically, you still have the players like Lauri Lettinen who's over there, like a Vaino Makala who we haven't seen much but is a lot more comfortable in Europe. You have a lot of these players who can get back. Jesse Nieminen, the other guy I was trying to think of, mm-hmm. who can get in the mix and have proven themselves more. Where when we're over here and you have that full European field, there's going to be a few of them that get in the mix. And for a guy like Ezra, if you are, okay, this would have been maybe a top 10, you throw more people kind of in the mix there, maybe it is a top 15, because the European field is also getting deeper. So as we're going to Europe, what used to be a very okay, the Americans are going to be very top heavy. That's not true anymore. The European field is getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And a lot of these top guys, Niklas Anttila being the front runner of guys who can make it on the U.S. Tour, can win multiple times on the U.S. Tour, are in these fields. So I think a top 15, top 20 is what I'm expecting from Ezra, but I am very interested to get y'all's opinions on Adam James. He's been slowly peaking at the right time. He peaked with the win last weekend. Is that the pinnacle? Or, being such a streaky player, is this something where he's still in his streak and he's carrying that into this week?
I think maybe he's less dangerous this week. I look ahead to the 2 majors, and I feel like one of those 2 majors, he is going to be in contention to win. Mm-hmm. The game's definitely clicking right now. It's really, really hard to string together wins on tour to get them back to back or even one apart. It's very tough to do that. there are just so many guys that are vying for their next win. You know, AB's due, Gannon's due, Ricky's due, Calvin's due. Who's like, you got to fend off all those players. But there's no doubt that he's been good. He was solid at Champions Cup. And I think that he is a player that has major championship DNA. I really think he's closed out in impressive fashion multiple wins now in his career. I really feel like he's had to earn a lot of them. You look back to Portland Open years ago, making a clutch putt. You look to Waco this year, making a clutch putt, a clutch finish this year, throwing a skip shot under the basket. I mean, I think he has DNA to win a major, and so I think at some point on this trip, he will collect another one, or at least throw himself heavily in the mix too. And I could see it being the next two majors. I'm not sure if he'll go back to back.
Yeah, Adam is one of those players that it feels like we always see the peaks and valleys of his game. There's never like this middle ground for him. And when he's at his best and he is peaking, he is a very, very dangerous player. I mean, you look at the courses that he just got done being super successful at with Des Moines, with Picker Park, and at PCS. They're not all that different than what we're going to see at Krokhol in terms of the style of play. So I'd love to see him be super competitive again. And I think ultimately the biggest competitor Adam has always had is himself.
Yeah.
So if he comes out determined to win, and there's a moment last week we can see when they asked him about why he didn't choose to lay up on 18, and he said along the lines of, if I see a win, I take that opportunity. That tells me he's ready to go and get that next level of success. And I think he's preparing himself for the major mindset, and this weekend just happens to be in between that.
Totally.
It will be interesting to see a player like Adam who is going to be focused on that major win. He's now won a few times on the Elite Series, and you have a major looming. How many players is that going to kind of mess with, where it's like, how hard is it to keep focused on, this is still a Pro Tour event, I'm in the moment here, and not view it as just, get through this event because I have a major next week. I have the Mud Bowl next week. I'm going to.
And so many guys are caught up in it because they're just having fun playing such a beautiful course. Yeah. Like, you see them posting on Instagram, and it's just like, we love this course, we love this course. And yeah, it can feel like a little bit of a warm up exhibition, and you forget this is a full Pro Tour event. So maybe with that in consideration, maybe we see a surprise winner. Maybe we see somebody win that hasn't necessarily floated around the top of the leaderboards.
Well, I do want to point out one guy. We talked about how hard it is to go back-to-back. There is a player who has gone back-to-back this season in Niklas Anttila. He has won actually 3 times on the Disc Golf Pro Tour this season. Open at Austin, Music City Open, Ale Open. He's back in the field for the first time since June last weekend at the PCS Open, where he placed 11th. Coming right back here at the Krokhol Open.
Big threat.
Do we think he can go for number 4 here, or are we almost more afraid of him at the majors in the next 2 weeks?
I think you're afraid of him in all of the above.
Yeah, honestly.
Absolutely.
I think his consistency has spoken for itself this year, and I don't let yourself forget about Niklas Anttila, because he's a quiet winner, kind of like a Kyle Klein can be. He's an unassuming player. I think his brand and personality has gotten a little bit bigger, and the early dominance this season, he's on more radars, but just because he took a little bit of a break and he's kind of sneaking back in, don't forget about Niklas Anttila, because, on any given week, he's super tough to beat. And he's obviously, across the pond, he's going to be more familiar with the venues. There's a lot to be worried about there.
I think one of the most significant things that the European field has, sometimes almost an advantage over the American players, is that there is a greater sense of pride attached to these events and these wins.
Oh, yeah.
And Niklas has already entered into the group of...
And the fandom, too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He's already entered into the group of players that we can say could win any weekend. I mean, there are people that, like you say, they can win, but there's a group of 5 or 6 that's like any weekend, no matter what course it is, they can win. And when you add the fact that he's already in that group with the position of where this course is at, the pride behind it, he's an absolute threat to win.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and we're going to hop over into FPO, but MPO is going to be absolutely electric, because there's so many players that are in this field with a chance to win, some looking for their first. I mean, this is basically a full field, because we haven't talked about Gannon Burr, we haven't talked about Calvin Heimberg, Isaac Robinson, Anthony Barella. You mentioned Kyle Klein, Ezra Robinson, Sullivan Tipton is, hot on the heels of his first win, nipping at the heels of his first win. Matty O. I mean, that's not even mentioning the European field over here. It's going to be an electric field, and I do think that it could get interesting from the standpoint that a lot of players' eyes are going to be on these next 2 majors. So could a lapse of focus happen here? Maybe. Let's talk about lapses of focus. Kristen Lott. Last weekend, one of the more surprising finishes, in my opinion, of her career. 6-stroke lead going into the final round, loses it to Evelina. Evelina, not present in this field. She's going to take another week off to prep for a major.
Thank goodness for everybody else. Huh?
Yeah.
Seemed to work pretty well for her. Last time she took a week off, she's come back to win-win-win. So we'll see if that carries forward. But let's focus in. Kristen Lott in a little bit of a slump, if you want to call it that, because it's pretty much all second places and like 1 6th place. But for Kristen, a winless stretch like this is a slump. Is it broken here? Is she broken and we're just going to see another Silva, Holland, someone else win? What are you expecting from Kristen this weekend, Trevor?
I think she is a little bit broken right now. I don't know whether you want to call it lingering illness, injury, or just lack of confidence. I think there is. The good news is when you're broken, leaves you in a place where you still have opportunity to win each and every week. It's not that hard to get out of that slump. And I think we've seen a few times in her career where maybe she slumps a little bit, but at the end of the day, there's going to be another opportunity handed to her probably the very next week to get out of that slump with a win. So expect her to still contend in this tournament. But if somebody else is going to push on the door again, if somebody will go out and take it, it can be taken. That is what we know about Kristen this year. But I'm not expecting her to fall off the face of the planet. It's just there will be other threats in the field.
Kristen seems to me like she's the kind of person who's very in tune with how she feels, or she at least tries to be very in tune with how she feels. Not having Evelina in the field is a big thing for her.
Huge.
Also, if you look back at what this week, what was going on, she was out on MDG Media put out a practice round video with her in it, and she just seemed really happy to be playing disc golf. And it was something very different for her that we normally typically see. I know that she announced that she had split her Instagram accounts into one disc golf related and one non-disc golf related. So maybe she's starting to compartmentalize disc golf into its own thing in her life. And this could be the event that gets her back on track, or this could be the event that pushes her further down.
Yeah.
I
for sure.
I do want to park on what you just brought up, because it could be a complete non-story. Mm-hmm. But it's kind of our job to speculate about what things could mean, right? And to me, making a decision to split your Instagram as a player personality like Kristen into a personal Instagram and a disc golf Instagram, I'm wondering, is that a move where someone else can take reins of my disc golf Instagram? I'm going to use my personal one just to post me and my family, and so I can go on there and not see the noise. If that's the case, that's only done when the noise is getting to you. Mm-hmm. And if the noise is getting to you, it didn't get any quieter with another second place last weekend. The question is that enough where maybe she is just all of a sudden in a day or two able to kind of rejuvenate, or will it take a week or two, or will it not work at all? I don't know. She's still going to have to face the press conferences. Mm-hmm. So will there be a hard-hitting question in there? Who knows? Not unless it's outside submitted, it might seem. Oh, yeah. But, they are allowing some outside submitted ones. So will she be still faced with that where she still has to deal with whatever demon she's fighting? Or is it being overanalyzed and it's as simple as when she goes down to putt, her pinky toe still hurts? I don't know. All I do know is we haven't seen this out of her in the last few years. And there are players in the field that this year have shown in moments, I'm willing to take it if you give me the chance. So if they have the chance, is this a weekend they can step up? One of them being a player who has done it a few times this year, has been very impressive this year, was sick last weekend. Who knows how much that'll affect this weekend? Silva Saarinen. Trevor, is this one of the players where you think, Kristen slips up, Silva's the first one through the door, or what are you thinking with her?
Hopefully. I think it's just a matter of she's at 100%. Obviously, the illness thing was weird, so we're just kind of waiting to see what version of her shows up. It's, we move on really fast in disc golf, especially on our shows, so it's like, oh, she kind of falls off for one little week there, and then it's like, okay, we kind of almost forget that storyline, and everything was about Cadence, right? Everything, she's next up. Forget Silva. So I think it'd be great for her to get back in the mix and give us that reminder, but it'll just be a question if she's at 100%. If she is, maybe a little bit of rust, but I expect her to be competitive.
Yeah, same here. I mean, I don't think that we've seen anything from her that says she won't be competitive with Kristen, and obviously for the sake of having this be the best possible event, we want to see her be competitive with Kristen, and we just don't know how fast she's going to get better. And I think sometimes we rush ourselves back to being better and maybe playing earlier. So how much did it affect her practice rounds? How much is it going to affect her event? I hope she's better. Hope we get a really, really competitive event.
Yeah, I do want to point out to Trevor's point, I think what some of us have gotten caught up on, because we even did with Kristin for a brief moment, was the USWDGC. But when we take a step back and look at it in the full context, no one at the top played how expected. I mean, of the top players this season, the best finish was Holland. I mean, Evelina, obviously, but she's not in this weekend. But the best finish was Holland at 4th. I mean, you had Kristin at 6th, Silva at 8th, Missy Gannon at 23rd, who notably is also not there this weekend. So Silva, if you take that kind of away, which if you take the other ones away, it looks very consistent, right? You have Kristin 2nd and 1st all year. You take that away, that still stays true. That's her only blemish. So if you take that away from Silva, she's went 4th, 2nd, 1st, hasn't played until this weekend. So when you look at it that way, of Kristin was able to get back to the kind of the normal. Evelina kept going what she was doing. Everyone else was kind of just able to kind of get back into what they've been expected to do. That would mean from Silva, we're expecting a player in contention. I'm actually really hoping we see a Silva that comes in 1st and 2nd, because we haven't seen an Evelina Silva battle yet this season, except for, I mean, it looks like there might have been one at Champions Cup between 4th and 6th, but I'm saying for 1st and 2nd, we haven't seen that happen because Evelina took the stretch off that Silva was dominant. So I would love to be able to go into the majors with a Silva in peak form, with maybe even a Holland in peak form, a Kristin who has a hunger to win again, and an Evelina who's coming in roaring and hot right now. So I'm really hoping to see Silva there. But I do want to talk about Holland Hanley. She hasn't won since the Northwest Championship a little bit ago. Even when the field was a little bit weaker during the stretch where some players went to Europe, she wasn't able to capitalize, such at Discmania, for instance, even though she had a chance. It didn't work down the stretch. Even in some of her wins we've seen in crunch time, she still gets nervous. So I don't know quite how I feel about Holland coming into this event. I think I know she's going to be in the mix because she hasn't finished outside the top 5 all season. But in the mix and winning is a different story. What do you think, Trevor?
Yeah, I think you just said it. I think if you look at where she's placed this year, it speaks consistency, but what we've seen is shakiness in crunch time and when it's time to win. And I think that's what gives me uncertainty when I look at Holland Hanley. I expect her to be competitive. Obviously, her work shows that this year, but if she's got to beat somebody and she has to convert in those clutch moments, I don't really have a lot of trust in her. Mm-hmm. And there's recency there, but we've seen it in times past. So I feel confident that she's going to be very competitive. But I don't know. I felt like at one point this season when she had rattled off a few wins, I was like, okay, my opinion on Holland has kind of changed. I think she's really arrived, but I mean, she really threw one away at Discmania, and it's a sign that is not super encouraging. 3
Pro Tour wins this season, Gary. Do you feel the same way about her as Trevor just spoke, or are you looking from a different perspective?
I think we say too often now that Holland has all the skills necessary to win, but we keep maybe not thinking about the skill that goes on between the 6 inches from ear to ear, because there seems to be a block there where she just doesn't have that last-ditch instinct to go take the victory. She has everything that she needs to do it, but I want to see more from her. I mean, this past weekend, or not this past weekend, but Des Moines was a chance for her to step up and say, I am the person. When Evelina's not here, when Kristin's not here, this is my FPO division.
Gotta win
and
this event.
she just didn't. That's not to discount everything that Cadence did, because Cadence played really, really well, but I think Holland lost that event.
Yeah.
Cadence has been coming into this event hot. 3rd, 2nd, 1st. I think did the smarter thing of taking the PCS week off.
Yeah.
Here for Krokhol. What are we thinking when it comes to her? We're going to see her now. I mean, she's went toe-to-toe with Silva and Kristin, beat them at USWDGC the last time she saw them. She went toe-to-toe with Holland, beat her or lost to her, depending on how you want to look at that, at the Discmania Challenge with the clutch shots on 17 and 18, putting Holland in a position where she even could mess up to lose this tournament. Now she's coming over to Europe staring this down at Krokhol, are we expecting the cadence of modern day to arrive, or are we expecting a little bit more inconsistent cadence that we saw at the beginning of the year to be there? Notably, Robbie C, not on the bag. How important is that, Trev?
Hey, it could be important, honestly. Like, it really could be. I think I heard her say this is her first trip to Europe. Super young. It's going to be, going across the pond. It's intimidating. Somewhat different style of course over there. She's got a good rounded game. So I think that she, whether there is any, nerves or lack of experience that come into play, I think she'll be fine. But I don't expect her, I'm not going to raise my expectations to I just expect her to be competing week in, week out. I think I think she's only going to be there for 3 weeks. I think I heard her say that too. And I think if one of those three, she could be top three really in contention and then just have solid finishes at the other. I think that's a pretty good European trip for her.
Yeah, you can't discount the fact that she hasn't been to Europe before. I mean, these courses, although they're all disc golf courses, they still feel different than the courses we have back home. Yeah. But if you're statistically playing as well as she is in certain categories, I think that stuff travels with you. So we've seen such a wonky FPO field in the way the results happen that she's the kind of person that even though she hasn't been there before, I think she can wiggle her way into contention just because of the inconsistency in the FPO field. Also, when you take out Evelina, that leaves an extra spot up there at the top where it's like, a player like Cadence could step right into.
Yeah, I think the key for Cadence is just going to be, can she keep composure between the years? Because she has all the talent in the world. She has the distance she needs. She doesn't have a forehand. We'll see how much that plays into it. But she's got everything she needs. She has the putt. But it is a serious question of how much, obviously we're friends with Robbie. He might be in here. I don't actually know. But how much did Robbie actually break her out of a cycle that would have led to a third, fourth place finish in Discmania on that hole 12-13 when she's crying in the fairway? How much is that contributed to someone being there to snap her out of it, be like, you're still in this, you just need to wake up and just throw the next shot? Mm-hmm. And if she doesn't have that, which I'm assuming she doesn't going over to Europe, if she doesn't have that, how much does that change? I don't know. Also, how much does it change? Maybe she has this newfound confidence just from a win, where it doesn't even matter having a caddy. But I do think a more young and experienced player, first time to Europe, the mental side's the toughest part. Where you're just going to be faced with decisions you have to make yourself. You're going to be jet lagged. You're going to be tired. Can you do it? It's going to be a very interesting tournament. I think both on the MPO and FPO. FPO obviously will be teeing off a lot earlier in the Eastern American world, Eastern Central Time. Eastern Central Time is not a thing. Eastern Standard Time.
Eastern Central Time. Never heard
so
of
by the time we wake up, we'll kind of just be looking at the scores. But if you're willing to stay up, you can still watch on the Disc Golf Network. And then MPO, I do love a good morning tee time, which is what we get here. So it'll be fun to watch, that's for sure, whether you're watching it live or post-produced. But let's get into our picks to wrap out the show. We're going to have Gary do some celebrity picks, too. So we'll kind of keep track of his points and see. It won't apply overall. Sorry, Gary, because mainly 1 week on the show, it'd be pretty impossible to beat us. But it would be a big moment for Tour Life if you come into our turf and carry it over. I will say, I don't know how comfortable you are. There's no live chat here. Edwin's stats not in your ear. Yep. So I don't know how comfortable you are making picks like that. But that is how we do it every week.
At least we do make picks every week over on Tour Life.
Touche.
Fair point. Only missed Discmania. I stand by that. Okay. You know what? Let's have you kick it off. What's your MPO top three, Gare Bear?
For me, I got to look at the combination of the course requirements, which I think this is a course where you are benefited by having some distance and that kind of accuracy. And I would be foolish, even though he botched that upshot on 18 this past weekend, to pick Gannon coming in first for me. I've got Niklas coming in second, given his just incredible performances in Europe and what we talked about previously. And then I'm gonna get AB back on the podium. I want to see him up there. I think he's got everything he needs to do it.
Okay. I'm basing one of these picks on a comment that was made in here for 2 seconds. At this point, 30 minutes ago. So I'm going Gannon Burr winning. No surprise there. Ricky Wysocki second, because I do think that he's going to get in the mix. And like I said, I'm not super confident that mix is going to lead to a win. And I'm going Isaac Robinson third, because I heard Trevor say that he loves the course. And when Isaac's feeling good, a lot of times that leads to good things. So give me Isaac in third.
Well, here's the problem. You're mistiming him. because Isaac is going to win in 2 weeks from now.
No, he's spinning up. He's spinning up.
Hey, he doesn't win to win again. He wins selectively at the major championships. He's
winning now. He's not winning next week, and he's winning Worlds. That's what he's about to do.
You're
I'm
halfway
sorry.
right.
Wait, no, I didn't pick him to win. What are we talking about? Pick him for third.
You're halfway right, because there is going to be a Robinson that's going to play really well, but it's going to be his brother. It's going to be Ezra Robinson. Ezra Robinson's going to win this tournament.
Oh.
Hey, all right.
I think Ezra Robinson's going to win this
milkman.
tournament.
You know what? If Ezra Robinson wins, there's a 100 Thomas guarantee. You'll have a milkman carrying 2 gallons of jugs for the 2-time delivery.
I'd
Stamp.
like Nick Lawson second, and I would like Gannon Bird in third.
Okay. We'll see if that Nick Loss being out of my top 3 helps me or hurts me.
That can't help.
It could.
I do like Isaac. I like him in third as well. I do like him there in third.
We'll see. You know, for me, I'm going to go FPO. I think that Kristin does it. I think Kristin is able to get herself in the position and hold on this time. I think she takes it down. I do think Silva being back in the field is going to be right in the mix. I'm going Silva Saarinen in third, and this could really hurt me. But I'm going Cadence Burge. I'm ignoring Holland Hanley. I'm doing it. I want Cadence in there because I think Cadence has a chance to win this, and I have a feeling no one else is going to pick her, so I would like a shot at some points there.
Yeah, fair enough.
Trev, what do you have?
I'm going to take Kristin to win as well. I'm going to take Holland in second, and I'm going to take Silva in third.
Gary?
Man, it's just kind of a mix-up of what you guys have. I've got Kristin winning the event. I think she takes it down. I've got Holland getting the chip off her shoulder. And you know what? You're not the only one. I got Cadence in third.
Dang it! Oh, that was my whole point, was just to have someone in there. Okay, well, Trevor, why don't you run us through your dark horse pick?
My dark horse pick is Paul Ulibarri. He's a monster.
Okay, love it. I'm going with Daniel Davidson. Played really well.
This guy knows ball.
He played really well at PCS last week, and I think he played pretty well at the Krokhol last year. So actually, let me verify he is in the field. That would have been a really embarrassing moment. I verified he was outside the top 30. I verified that he was the player I saw last week and forgot to verify he was in the field. I had already picked him, so I'd have been locked in. But he is in the field. Gary, who do you got?
I can't believe he's outside the line, but Matty O. I mean, anyone who hasn't watched that video of he and Yuli and AB playing triples, best shot triples together, Matty O, he's got the vibes. I'm loving European Matty O this week.
European Matty O. Well, there you have it. I'm going to send Trevor over to the computer to stop the recording for us. You might want to go that way, Trev. You can get in that way over there. This desk is very up against the wall, so when we have multiple people here, it gets very tight very quick, but we don't have a producer, so Trev's going to run over and hit stop for us. But thank you all so much for watching. We'll be back on Monday to recap everything that went down over the pond in Norway, and then it's Major Week, baby. We'll get locked in then. We'll talk to you then.